Broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is Slickfish Radio. Back in the saddle. Welcome everybody to another edition of Slickfish Radio. Woo, man, it's been a couple weeks since the last podcast, and we were at the Bassmasters Classic. I don't even know where to begin to tell you. I'm sure a bunch of you have seen a bunch of social media. I'm so glad you guys are here tonight. We're going to talk about that just a little bit tonight, and then we're going to bring on a guy I've been wanting to have on this show for a long time. I'm an admirer of other people's work, and JP DeRose has been in the industry for years and years and years. Quality work, and one of my favorite shows. I'm probably going to say probably in my top 10 is his show Breaking Boundaries, and it's in its 10th season right now. So I'm thrilled to have JP here. I admire his cinematography, his work, and we're going to have him on the show in just a little bit. I'm so glad he's a busy guy, and I'm so glad that he took the opportunity to join us tonight. But first of all, I want to thank our sponsors who always help us out. American Tackle Company. ICAST is it's only April, but July is right around the corner when you're in the industry, and ICAST is coming up quick. And I know American Tackle is going to have some really cool stuff coming out again this year. Explore Lacrosse. I'm finally heading back up there in May. We did the first ice fishing show of season 2. For Jim Crowley Outdoors and Wire to Fish up there this year. And finally, the weather's breaking. So those of you who don't know, we do our show live every year. So not really live, but we film it within the context of that year. So we're actually going out and we're going to start filming season 2 here tomorrow in the next couple days. Looking forward to that. And we are heading to La Crosse really soon. And I'm very excited to get back to the Bluffless region. It's so beautiful there. And if you're looking for a place to go for a family vacation, it's awesome. Shields, we had a great time at their event last month. And thanks to all the people, again, who came out to the Bass Academy classes that I held there. And I got 2 brand new bikes from Shields. I mean, they do everything at Shields, everything. And my wife and I are riding bikes now and absolutely just loving it. So thanks to everybody at the Springfield Shields. Cast King, we're going to talk a little bit about the Bassmasters Classic because it was crazy in the Cast King booth. And that's where I spent most of my time during the Classic. And it was sure a heck of a lot of fun and craziness. And we are powered by Dakota Lithium. I mean, nobody beats that 11-year warranty. I'm so impressed with them and the new stuff that they have coming out. You want to find out more, go to Dakota Lithium. They back their stuff. They're good. And in my opinion, they are the best of the best. So let's talk about the Bassmasters Classic before we bring JP on. So I'm in the Cast King booth. This Bassmasters Classic, and I know JP was there, and I'm sure he'll be able to attest to it. It was crazy. It was the largest crowd that they've ever had at a Bassmasters Classic, and you saw it the couple days, the 2-3 days that everybody was there. It was nuts. I can tell you one time in a Cast King booth, check this out. We had Bill Dance. We had the clogging sensation, Ross is I forget Ross's right now. Anyway, he was there. So you got Bill Dance. You got Mr. Ross clogging there, and then you got an American Eagle live there. Unless you were there, I really don't know how to explain all that to you. It was craziness. Only stuff like that happens at the Bassmasters Classic. And people in Tennessee are just nice. They are wonderful. We had an absolute blast there. So thanks to everybody because it was craziness. I think we sold something like 1,000 rod and reel combos in the time we were there. It was nuts. It was just nuts. And had a lot of fun. And I was so glad that we got the opportunity to do that. And so, like I said, we're going to have some filming coming up in the next couple days. We're going to be getting into season 2. So you'll be obviously seeing more social media out there. And we're excited about it because the weather's finally breaking. It was just a really crazy winter. So I'm really excited about the spring and getting going. And talking about getting going, I don't know if this guy sleeps much. I just don't. JP DeRose, welcome to and you're grinning there, but I'm probably right. I am very thankful that you had the opportunity to join us tonight. And how's the weather by you? It's probably not much better than us, if better at all.
It's actually not that bad for this time of year, Jim. It's let me do some conversion math here because Canadians are on, like the rest of the world, it's kind of we're on that metric system, and the U.S. is holding firm on that imperial system. So
that's right.
It was probably 40 degrees today. They're calling for over the weekend or tomorrow in southern Ontario. They're calling for like 65-degree weather. So
okay. Awesome.
Spring has sprung. We have a little bit of ice left on some of the lakes, but not many anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. There's going to be some great fishing right ahead. I know I'm heading up to Ontario in June, and then I'm heading to southeastern Manitoba in September. I'm finally looking forward to being back and being able to go back. So I am pumped up and excited. AJ Gore just pumped in. Another great podcast guy. AJ, welcome to the show. Glad everybody chiming in. Thank you very much. So JP, again, thanks for joining us tonight. And like we were talking before the show started, that I know we've passed by each other several times at numerous different shows, especially ICAST, and I know you're at the Classic too. And before we get into breaking boundaries, what was your feeling? I know you were busy at the Classic, so I mean, what was your feeling on it?
I mean, it's always great. 2019, I think, was the last time we were back in Knoxville, and it was just a great show then. I was working the Shimano G. Loomis Power Pro booth the entire time I was down there, but more so just to see a good friend and someone I've known a very long time, Jeff Gustafson, take the title. And really, we had a contingency of Canadians down there like I've never seen at a Classic. Easily a couple hundred Canadians came down. So it was really impressive to see. And I think overall the show, like you said, great people. The state of Tennessee is all into their fishing. It is an incredible place. And Knoxville is a great city. So overall, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, and it was great to see. I knew as soon as Gussie got in that smallmouth bite, I'm like, boys, it ain't. He got taught by the Linders, man. And yeah. You want to say there's a learning curve people might not be able to catch up to. I've been a fan of the Linder since I was a kid, and just knowing that even Al saw something in him way back when the kid was 14, 15 years old and said, this kid's going to be here for to stay. And it was great to see him capitalize on something like that, stick with it, because that takes I competed for about 15 years. I haven't competed at that level, but especially at that level, it takes a great kind of mental fortitude to be able to come down and know that you're sufficient enough in the technique and you excel at it. And you have to think that way or you're not going to excel at it. And you excel at it and you go, I'm going to stick with this and do that. And I look forward someday to meeting him just to shake his hand and go, you know what? If anything, I'm 100% thrilled that you did it because you stuck to your guns and man, it was loaded the whole time and you pulled it off.
That's 100% right. I mean, when we shot Gussie, I did some video work with him on media days. So the Thursday before the Classic started, and he had literally 6 872 NRX Plus rods tied up with 6 spinning reels loaded with 8-pound Power Pro. And he was using the new FC Sniper, he was using the new Mastiff FC line fluorocarbon. So Gussie went and he said, this is what I'm going to win on. This is what I'm going to use. He had 6 identical setups that, the Smeltinator jig head, the Z-Man Streak Shad, or whatever the little bait, the 4-inch bait he was using. I mean, all that stuff was Gussie said, I'm rolling the dice on this. He had different colors and a few different size baits on, but the setups were the same and he knew what he had to do.
You know what? You always said that the guy that when I was tournament fishing, I said the guy you always worried about is the guy who had very few rods on the deck or the guy who had a lot of the rods with all the same thing on there, because that was somebody who had a plan and that was somebody who was sticking to it. Yep. And whether it be fishing a tournament or filming shows like you do, most of the time you have a plan. Sometimes, things go awry or you have to do it, but you got to stick to your guns and you've got to be able to make decisions on the water. Hey, Vance Gordon just chimed in and, now the show has went to hell. It just has because Vance is with us. So he says, hi, Jim and JP. Vance, I warned him that you may be here today. So I know you guys have known each other for quite a while.
Yeah, we worked together. I first met Vance when I signed on with Sunline, actually, quite a few years ago. And always had a good time chatting with him, whether it was at ICAST or the Classic or wherever I ran into him.
Nobody beats Big Sexy, man. I'm just telling you. That's just how it goes. Hey, let's talk about and I'm not shy about saying this. This is one of my absolute favorite shows for a long time. I think the work you do on breaking boundaries is phenomenal. I remember the first time that when it came out and I heard that get out of your comfort zone, or we live in a comfort zone. And you are 100% correct. You and I both kind of live in that same comfort zone. We both live in that largemouth, smallmouth bass. I want to ask you how that idea, or if you remember back that far, because you've been doing shows since 2004, 2005, something like that. And do you remember when that idea came to you and why you decided to do that?
Yeah. When I started out with WFN, and WFN started in 2005, it was formed. And then 2006, I did some work for them and I fished the tour and they filmed everything and they sponsored me. And then I ended up with a show called Getting Schooled back in the day that I ran for 4 years. But after 4 years of Getting Schooled, the president came to me and said, well, let's do something different. And I was like, yeah, I agree. You can only do something for so long because there's only so many crankbaits that will come out in a year. And there's so many times you can fish the same way over and over again. So I did 1 year, a hiatus year, where I did a show called Beyond the Cast, where we rated gear, which was great. And the people who watched it loved it. But it was a really, we were walking a tightrope, right? It's very hard to be in this industry and rate people's gear, because sooner or later you're going to end up in a lawsuit when you don't rate something as well as someone's marketing campaign says their stuff is. So that one lasted 1 year, scared the hell out of WFN, and they said, come up with something new. And I grew up fishing bass. I grew up in Ontario, Canada, but I also grew up heading down to Padre Island in Texas. So I had this love for surf casting and fishing in the ocean. And I like to catch anything, whether it was crappie fishing or it was trout fishing in the river. I actually started trout fishing well before I started bass fishing. So I realized that there was some commonality between all the things I did: reading water, fighting a fish, casting, all the mechanics that happen in fishing. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if I looked at what I do in fishing and see if I can compare it to something? And at the time, I had a producer who put me on to a documentary series called The Evolution. I think it's Metal Evolution it was called. And I'm a big heavy metal fan growing up.
Yeah.
Listening to Sabbath, Kiss, and Iron Maiden and everything else. So he sent me this and I watched it, and it was this guy, this producer Sam, who hosted the show, who created a genealogical tree of heavy metal. Yeah. And it started with, let's say it's the Beatles or whoever it started with. And he branched off to all these different genres of metal, from Norwegian death metal to, punk metal to rap metal to all these things. And I thought about it and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I did that for fishing? Yeah. So I sat down one day and I actually started with a fish, split it from salt and fresh, and then split it from bodies of water types to structures to techniques to species. And then I sat there and highlighted what I've done in my life. And I looked back and I had a 512 arm genealogical tree that I had maybe scratched 1/100th of in my experiences as a tournament angler and someone who does both salt and fresh. So that's where the spark came from. And I said, well, wouldn't this be a cool show? And the name was, my producer came up with it, Frank Russo, came from, we were big fans. I'm actually a caterer by trade. So I filmed cooking shows before. I've done a bunch of work in kitchens. We used to watch Anthony Bourdain's show.
They're a great show.
Right? So that kind of spawned where JP DeRose Breaking Boundaries came from. It was kind of like no borders for Anthony Bourdain. And so that's where it all stemmed from.
That was worth getting up this morning. I didn't know all that, man. That was cool. That was really, really cool. And because when I first saw that, I'm like, all right, so you're always looking for, or at times you're looking for a catchy name or something. But when I saw, because my dad had me in the boat at 3, my first fish was a white bass. And so I ended up, then he would take me to Canada all the time from like 6 years old up. And so then it got to be smallmouth bass and northern pike, right? And so then I had family members that lived in Florida. Then I started going down there and not getting to fish saltwater as much as I do, but had a love for it. You and I talked about something off air that I want to bring back up again, because you have that, because I think this was a great point. And I love talking about this kind of stuff. And I think the high schoolers, the collegiate anglers should hear this. And this came from JP, and I agree with this 100%. Learn the mechanics of fishing. That's what you said. And when you do, it doesn't matter if it's freshwater or saltwater, the mechanics of the fishing, everything that you can catch. I understand that at the young age that a lot of those anglers are, you can't go fish for everything, but everything as you get older, in my opinion, will make you a better angler the more you get to fish for. Do you agree with that, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, the mechanics, whether you're a musky angler, a river trout angler, or a bass angler, or a saltwater bluefin tuna guy who targets just that. There's certain mechanics you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn how to properly match a rod, reel, line, the pound tests, how to properly cast, cast forehanded, sidearm, backhand in situations. All these little mechanics, boat control, all the things that they're accumulated and acquired through time on the water. So the more you fish, regardless of what you fish for, the more skills you should acquire as time goes on. And, what I've learned is that no matter what you're good at, it will translate to another fishery.
Sure.
And if you go to that fishery with an open mind to absorb what they do, that's part of it. But the next part is take what you know and try to apply it to their fishery. And I've done this all over the world. I always leave a fishery teaching them something new that they've never seen before. But I always take something that they're doing and say, oh my God, I can apply this to walleye, or I could see this working for smallmouth. A prime example, years ago, I went and did a show in Alaska with a good friend of mine, Randy Dale from Michigan, and Paul Powis. He's a captain on Lake Erie. So I had a trolling guy, and Randy has a place in the Keys, so he loves to saltwater fish, but he's on Lake Michigan. So we go to Alaska, and I wanted to do a sockeye salmon show, colored up. I wanted the red and green, the ones you see in National Geographic. I wanted that picture holding that fish. So we went up there, and it was Russell Fishing Guides, and they're a great guide service. I was out with a guy born and raised on the Kenai River.
Cool.
And he said, okay, well, if you want to do that, we have to floss them. So anybody who's ever fished salmon understands flossing is much like it's implied in dental work. The fish are sitting in the river, static in the current with their mouth doing this, and you flip your line out and your line goes through their mouth and you hook them on the outside of the face. It's called flossing.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, there's no way I'm going to floss a fish on camera because it's ethically, in my opinion, it's not the right way to do it. It's technically legal, but doesn't look very good on camera. So he took me to these fish, and I just started cycling through the ways I've learned how to catch trout and salmon back home. So I tried a float, I tried an inline spinner, I tried a bunch of stuff, caught one here, caught one there. And then I grabbed a rod and I said, I was back in BC a few years back and I was fishing pink salmon with a marabou jig. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed this marabou jig and I tied it on, I fired it out there on his rod and I popped it twice and I felt crack. And I set the hook on like a 7-pound sockeye and it had it choked.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I'm like, hey, Brian, are you okay if I strip all the line off this reel? I got my own reel here. I'm going to strip the line off. I got Power Pro braid with me. I'm going to spool that up with a fluorocarbon leader. Just let me try it. And he goes, yeah, go ahead. And we caught 136 sockeye in the mouth on camera. We had triple headers every cast. Every guide boat that was surrounding us left the area because they couldn't explain to their clients what we were doing. And we were making them look really,
and
really
had a lot
bad.
of pedo people there.
Yeah. So Brian at the end of it was like, leave me all your jigs. He goes, I've been born and raised here. I've never seen anything like that. So, that mentality of always trying something new and maybe applying something you can bring from somewhere else, never be afraid of it when you're fishing. It doesn't matter what the species is. If you can properly line up your gear based on A, the size of the bait you're throwing, B, the size of the fish you're targeting or the cover you're fishing them in, everything else is in here. Everything is a pattern. It can be developed and it can be figured out as the day goes on.
And it's amazing that you said hair jig too. I've taken that little hair jig. It's amazing what a little black, brown, or white hair jig can catch. It's nothing fancy. It just flat out works. Smallmouth anglers in Ontario, I learned that trick 10, 12 years ago. And it's amazing what that little teeny tiny bait can do and what it will catch. When, as you said, I build my own rods. I built the rod specifically for 1/16 hair jigs because you need the rod, the reel. I picked the reel exclusively with a very low gear ratio to be able to work that really slow and pick the type of line that I was going to do. I've worked on that for 3 or 4 years before I got something that I like. But you know what? I can take that anywhere where I can use a hair jig and I can catch fish. Exactly what you said. To me, it is critical to become a better angler at learning to match your rods and reels as well as understanding and knowing. Let me ask you this, and I bet you agree with this. I'm going to say hi to some people first. I want to say to John Vance, we said hi to Gary Turner, Lee, DeSoto. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on and more people coming on. Thank you. I've told people for years that, there's a reason that 10% of the anglers catch 90% of the fish. And one of those reasons is because they know what their lures are doing. If you're casting out there and have no idea what your lures are doing, you're not fishing, you're hoping for a bite and you're wasting your time. And I know you've had to, with all the species of fish you fish for, you're concentrating, you understand what that lure you're doing. No matter what fish it is, you need to know what that lure is doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a point, and I remember years ago, growing up, all I did was watch fishing shows and read fishing magazines. I mean, that was our way of absorbing. Right. And now, I mean, with the internet and YouTube, I mean, there's so much information available at people's fingertips, but there is still no replacing time on the water. It doesn't matter how much you read, the physical act of fishing and recognition of pattern development and situational awareness where, it went from being sunny to cloudy, or the wind switched all of a sudden, or, it's about to rain and the barometric pressure is dropping. These are all triggers that when you have success experiencing that, they're things you should be able to recall. And the best fishermen, I'll tell you this, have the best memory. Right? Guys that I know that are really, really good at it, they remember things that happened 20 years ago. Oh, I remember this one time 20 years ago, the storm was rolling in and I picked up this jig in this color and it worked. Those are the things that when you compile and keep adding data to your brain that you can recall instantly, they make you a better fisherman.
And I agree 100%. I'm telling you, the older I get, I can't remember what I walked downstairs for, or even that I'm there. But I can tell you in 1993, what stump I caught that bass off on a blue and chartreuse spinnerbait. It's just how my brain works. But as an angler, there are things that every once in a while clicks and you go, I've done this before, or I have this idea, this is going to work. It doesn't matter if it's a freshwater or a saltwater fish, but I can make this bait work. I can make it work. I've seen topwaters work the same largemouth that they have in yellowfin tuna. Trying to get the bait away real quick and get that and just make them do something. It's all a process. This is just, I love this. Technical, I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff. I love that kind of stuff. Hey, we're going to take about a 2-second break. We'll come back because I really want to get into breaking boundaries, what's coming up next.
Sure.
And just the cool stuff you do there. So as Chuck Woolery used to say, we'll be back in 2 and 2. I knew you'd remember that one.
American Tackle is home to the award-winning microwave line control system. Rod blanks to reel seats, ferrules to finish, grips to guides. They are committed to the very best in rod building components. Find out more, americantackle.us. With fishing beyond your expectations, indoor and outdoor activities, a vast variety of places to eat, drink, and stay. Discover your next adventure between the bluffs. ExploreLaCrosse.com. Located in Springfield, Illinois' largest selection of sports and sportswear, hunting, fishing, specialty shops and services, a 65-foot Ferris wheel, 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and industry-leading knowledgeable employees. You don't take chances at Shields, ever. Go to Shields.com. Achieving affordable innovation through novel concepts and in-house ingenious designs. Cascade cost-effective e-commerce practices directly market to consumers, cutting costs by 30% or more on average. Affordable innovation, superior quality. Cascade.com. Believing quality is measured by lifespan and harnessing their unique chemistry and engineering know-how. Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passion with an 11-year warranty. Find out more, DakotaLithium.com.
Slickfish Radio with Jim Crowley can be seen and heard on Roku, Fire TV, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iTunes.
There we go. Come here. Get in here. Yeah. Nice fish right there. Hi, I'm Jim Crowley. Make sure you catch my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Wired to Fish TV. Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others. Hey, we are back with JP DeRose, breaking boundaries. In your 10th year on this show, is that correct?
Just started filming season 10, yes.
Holy cow. So what are some exciting things? Is there a fish in this season that you haven't fished for, or one that you is personal that you want to go back for? What's up on it?
COVID really put a kill on what I do because travel was almost half of my season. I tried to do 50% of my stuff here in Canada and Ontario. And then I tried to do 50% on the road. And with COVID, we lost all the ability to travel countries, So now that things are back in swing, I would say this year that just passed, season 9, that's airing now on Waypoint TV, has a good mix of what I was used to. I think we did British Columbia for sturgeon. We did Panama for a couple episodes doing an inshore seminar series there. And then we did a bunch of really more detailed stuff and more variety here in the north. We have a brand new early season bass season in Ontario, so for all you in the States, you have to realize that in Canada, in Ontario specifically, bass is really open in southern Ontario from the 4th Saturday in June until around the 15th of November is the only time we can target bass. Where New York State, which borders us, there's a trophy season. It's open all year round on certain bodies of water like Lake Erie. So all the crazy Canadians would pack the boats up in May, head south, go fish Lake Erie or Lake Chautauqua or the Finger Lakes to go get our fix, or Lake Champlain for that matter. Well, now they opened up that bass is open from the 4th Saturday in June or the 1st Saturday in July until May 10th. So we can target them, but it's catch and release only. Sure. Immediate release. And so I did a show catching largemouth on the Bay of Quinte last year, which was great. I did a lot of micro fishing last year, a lot of tiny crankbait stuff. I did a panfish rock bass show. Yep. Did a smallmouth bass show on Lake Erie using like a 39F Macbeth little mini crankbait. So I always try to do something a little bit different. This year, I'm currently working on getting out to North Madagascar, so off the coast of Africa. So I've got a bone to pick. Not a bone to pick, but I think they're probably going to kick my butt in pretty hard. I want a GT, a giant trevally. Sure. That's one of the ones that's on my list. Another one that's readily available there would be the dogtooth tuna. So those are the two that I've kind of got my sights set on right now. I do have other fish on my list. The golden dorado in Argentina is one of them. Barramundi in Australia is another one of them. But I'm going to try to focus on that. And then I've also got an invitation to go fish. I think it's the European Black Bass Championships in Spain this October.
Oh, cool.
So I might go do that because they have Wells catfish in the lake that we're fishing.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. So I'm starting to get back into the travel routine, and I'm starting to get back into the fact that I can actually go out and do what I want to do, which is break boundaries.
Sure.
I want to do that. And I got stuck for 2 years filming only locally, which we did our best to educate. Yep. But I felt like we lost the core of what the show was, and that was, stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and that's going to be cool. I've seen shows on GTs before, and that Wells catfish. I see a picture on your back wall there. It looks like with a tarpon. I'm going for my first tarpon this year.
That's actually there's a tarpon head.
Yep.
Right there. That's a 140-pound tarpon that got eaten by a 10-foot bull shark while I was fighting it.
Yeah, bull sharks are great.
That is a striper up there. So that's a striped bass, topwater walking a dock, which you know what a dock is. It's a giant walking spook that they use for stripers. So.
Yeah, that bull shark has lost a little equipment to me too in Louisiana a couple years ago. One nice fish I was bringing in and a couple yellowfin. So yeah, that's always a scary thing when you're in those waters because
that's the man in the brown suit. It's the tax man.
Tax man. That's right. Yeah. That is exactly it. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the new stuff, and I'm like I said, I think how many, if I may ask you, how many cameramen do you have with you? Because some of the cinematography, you won a couple of awards like Kelly Awards back in 2015 or something.
Yeah, when we applied for them, we won cinematography awards with the Tellys. Yeah. And typically we would shoot 2 camera guys. Okay. And then, it depends. Technology has really changed from back in the days when I first started filming. We were running digital tape back in the day, and you would shoot 8 to 10 tapes because the tapes were an hour a piece, and 2 camera guys, and you have to go back and ingest them digitally, put them in a system. It was taxing. The way things worked then were very taxing, where now, we run in our studio, we probably have 14 cameras on the go. And I had worked with a bunch of great freelance camera guys. And then my son, who's 17 now, has been shooting for me for 3 years. So I'm training him to be my number one camera guy. And so yeah, we're shooting all kinds of different stuff now. I mean, we do so much studio work now as well. If you see any of like Shimano's stuff in the studio, rod shots and reels and lures running underwater, we're producing all that stuff. plus all of Bass Cat Boat stuff for them. So we're doing a bunch of different stuff right now.
Yeah, I said, well, as soon as I heard the Bass Cat, I think it was last year, as soon as I heard the Bass Cat commercial, I go, I know who that is. If I had one guy to do one or two guys to do a voiceover for my own show, I know who I'm calling. You got one of the best voices out there. I'm in the other room. I'm in the other room and I'm going, you should have a radio show or something, because I know that voice right away. It's just really, really good. Well, but tell some people, for anybody living under a rock, what is some other information so they can go find your stuff? Now you're on Waypoint TV, but where can they find out more stuff about you? Let them have it.
Well, jpderose.com would be the easiest thing to do, and that's our website. But, all of our shows, our catalog from season 3 all the way up to season 9 is available on demand on waypointtv.com. And the great thing is with that program, with that system, is it's on demand. It's linear on a bunch of like Zumo, Stir, Atmosphere, LG TV, or is it LG TV? I think it is LG TV and Samsung TV Plus. I mean, it's available everywhere. But also, if you have an iPhone or an Android, it has an app as well. So that's the big one for collecting our broadcast content. And then my YouTube channel for JP, just search JP DeRose on YouTube. We try to do that is I do a lot of product walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. I do pull some tip segments from within my show, but the main crux of the people who follow me on YouTube, it's all about knowledge on new products. Sure. So every time Shimano comes out with something new, or VMC comes out with something new, or Dakota Lithium is another one, or Sims, or any of that stuff, I do a detailed breakdown, and I've found a good way to break down very technical things and bring them into layman's terms and make them most easily digestible by the average angler, because technology in fishing has gotten very, very high. I mean, when you think about what goes into building rods and reels and, everything else in batteries, it can be overwhelming for the average consumer. And so that's kind of where I found my niche on YouTube, is just doing these breakdowns and reel comparisons and stuff like that. So. Well,
yeah, especially when you come to, building my own rods and working for rod companies over the years, just like you have. Oh my goodness, the components now, and even the reels, you're not holding anything in your hand compared to what we were doing 10 or 15 years ago. And the electronics, when the graph on the front of my boat costs way more than a 65-inch television screen you have on at home, that stuff is crazy.
3 times the price, actually.
Yeah. Right. And we all know it. And we're just like, but we got to see those little blips. It's almost like watching Pong again, but now they're coming up and eating your baits. And I was telling people, and maybe you feel the same way, watching whatever live sonar you have on there and still learning my way around it a little bit. I said, before I didn't know there were any fish down there. Now what it showed me, there's a whole bunch of fish down there that don't want anything to do with anything that I'm throwing. So, but the thing is, at least it shows you the mood of the fish. And you really can learn, a lot from it. We saw saw Gussie do it at the Bassmasters Classic. Watch those fish change their mood to hit those baits. That's got to be kind of intriguing to you too, as long as you've been doing this.
It is. I mean, I'm still a cast and feel guy.
Yep.
The thing I learned years and years ago was, and I can't remember who the pro was, but he explained it like you should be, if you cast, let's just say you cast a football jig on rock out there off a riprap. We go to feel, and we're kind of looking into space, feeling what we're feeling. When I picture it, I'm picturing the actual jig hitting the rocks and moving. And when it gets soft, I'm picturing it grabbing grass or moss. The focus should be, you should be the bait.
Right.
And if you can do that, I mean, the tool of live, there are people who are starting to depend solely on live. They don't make a cast until they see a fish. I still think you're making a monstrous mistake. I think live is an incredible tool to learn. I think it'll help you understand and find fish you would no other way find. But I also feel like the guy beside you who's trying to look over your shoulder to see what's going on, I think he's making a massive mistake, because if you're around fish, they're not just in front of that 22-degree cone in the front of the boat. They should be around the boat as well. So I almost prefer to put someone on the live on the front. And when they say they see something, I start casting around and feeling for them.
Yeah, I look at it as preconceived notions or preconceived conditions. You see them there, but I had a lot more confidence in my stuff sometimes when I'm like you are. I need to feel everything. I want to feel that twig. I want to feel that rock. Just because I can react to it better, I think, than sitting at a screen. But you know what? Hey, technology is wonderful when it works. Obviously, it's been applied to and worked on a bunch of things. And those, I think, maybe a good blend of it would be some of the new school and old school, because I'm always going to be old school. That's part of the fun of being out there. That's part of the adventure. That's part of the challenge. And we've seen a lot of things in our time that have changed. But when it comes right down to it, fishing is still fishing, and you still have to go.
Yeah, well, and live isn't going to be the answer for every situation. It's gonna, but I'll tell you what I've learned. So I run Mega Live. Yep. And I can tell you that I have pulled up to spots. I can see the fish there. And let's just say I see a pack of smallmouth in 25 feet and I fire a drop shot at them and they just keep swimming the other way. That tells me right away to pick up a Ned or a tube or a small swim bait and throw something different at them, because either the profile or what that bait is doing on the fall is not interesting them.
Right.
And a lot of times you'll grab that Ned or that small 2.8 rhythm wave and fire it out there. You'll watch it swim to the bottom. You'll watch the fish nose down on it. And at that point, I stop looking at live. Then I start concentrating and being the jig. And when I feel that tick, then it's game on. So if you use it properly, live can be indispensable in your boat.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to do it. You still have to feel that bait, because that is still the whole thing behind it. And the longer we do it, and any of the collegiate anglers listening to us out there, believe me, there's going to be a time, hopefully for all of you, when you come so in tune with your lures that you're going to set the hook. And I've done that every year, and I'm sure JP, you've done too. You don't even feel the bite. Something just went, and you set the hook, and there was a fish there. You just learn. You can't get that from a screen. I don't know any other way to explain it, except that your subconscious takes over and you set the hook. And that only comes by time on the water and experience. That you can't get that no matter how expensive a screen is or how much it gets. Like you said, it's a useful tool, but you better not stop relying on what God gave you, because I still think that's going to be one of the best things.
Oh, listen, there's no replacing a good set of hands.
Right.
No matter how you put it, a good set of hands and a well-balanced combo will do wonders.
Exactly, man. I appreciate you joining us so much. I could talk to you geek tackle stuff for hours, because you and I apparently on that are the same wavelength on there, because I love getting technical, because I like knowing how stuff works, and obviously so do you. Everybody, if you haven't seen Breaking Boundaries yet, I'm sorry you haven't. You need to go check it. You really need to go check it out.
The good news is it's totally free. You don't even need to sign up.
You don't got to pay me, him, anybody. Just go watch it. JP, I really appreciate you being on the show, man. Thanks for taking your time. I'm glad we got to meet. Hopefully, I'm sure at ICAST, hopefully we get to do it in person. I really appreciate you taking your time. And sometime when we have another technical show, maybe the next season, I'd like to have you back on, because I admire your insight. I like everything that you've done in the industry. I love the stuff that you've done. I'm an admirer of your work, as I said, and I just appreciate you being here tonight and sharing some of that with the rest of us.
Not a problem, Jim. It was my pleasure. It was good talking to you.
All right, man. God bless you and safe travels.
Take care.
Great guy. Everybody, thank you for joining up. I've always wanted to talk to him, just because, like I said, I admire his work, and obviously a very intelligent angler, and he does a great job on all his stuff. Mike Howard just chiming. Hi, Mike. How you doing? Pat Bowden. Pat, nice to have you. And you guys, just all kinds of stuff. I really appreciate you guys chiming in tonight. This is great, and I really hope it. We got some great guests coming up too, and I'm so glad that JP had a chance to join us tonight. Before we leave, again, I want to thank our sponsors, and don't leave yet. I got a couple more things to tell you, but I want to put up our code from our friends here at American Tackle. So if you're looking for anything on the American Tackle anglerproducts.com, go to them. You can get 20% off anything there. They're also looking for pro staff members, just so you know. So if you like building rods and some other things, you may want to check out my friends at American Tackle. And if you decide to purchase anything there, put in the code JCO20 and you will do it. So thanks to all my friends at American Tackle. Cast King. Now, you saw the new MG12 that came out at the Classic. If you didn't, go back through my social media. Just go to Cast King. 4.8 ounce bait cast reel. I've been throwing it the past week. We're using it, filming a new show later this week. I am telling you, this is the smoothest. This is one of the coolest, if not the coolest reel I've ever put in my hands. It is awesome. It is amazing how strong this reel is and how small and how light it is. I've said that the bar has been raised when we did the promos on this thing, and I'm not kidding. It has. Check out castking.com, and you can get 20% off this MG12 right now, and anything else at Cast King. Go put in the code JC52AFF. Check out the new line spooler. Check out the line gobbler that removes line from your reel really easy. The new knives. There's so much stuff that Cast King is coming out with, and more stuff that they have for the average angler all the way up to the tournament pro. Cast King is where it's at, guys. Go to castking.com, put in that code JC52AFF. Our friends at Shields, they are packed. If you're looking for any kind of tackle at all, Shields has a full supply of the brand new hooks from VMC, the Red Line. I've used them. I've never had a hook that's went in quicker in my life. Buyer beware. When you get these Red Line hooks, they will stick you right out of the package. They are sharp. They have a coating on them that will go through 50% quicker than any other hook. It's VMC. They're designed incredibly. Shields has a full stock of them. Check out Shields, Springfield, Illinois store. Some of the nicest people in the world who know what they're doing. All Shields stores are that way. Dakota Lithium, we are powered by them, and I am thrilled. I got a new set of Dakota Lithiums in my boat again this year, and there's a reason for that. I can depend on them. All the electronics that you have, you never have to worry about losing power with Dakota Lithium. They have everything there. Also, last people I want to mention is my friends at Explore Lacrosse. If you're looking for a great family vacation, we're not even going to talk fishing. You just want to talk about a place to go that where you have beautiful scenery, beautiful places to stay, great places to eat. Like I said, scenery beyond compare. Check out the Lacrosse area. Go to explorelacrosse.com. Again, great people. And in my opinion, the prettiest place in the Midwest is La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, and by the way, fishing is pretty good. Pretty darn good. Check out one more comment. Somebody who came here, Lee Kerr, thank you for the codes. Lee, you're very welcome. Use them as many times as you want, Lee, and pass them on to your friends. I'm so glad. If this is the first time you've joined the show, I am thrilled that you did. I'm thrilled with all of you joining the show. As you always do, we are growing. Oh, my goodness. On Roku and Fire TV, we saw the numbers last month. We are growing faster there than everywhere. I don't know why that is. I am thrilled. Thank you, everybody at Roku and Fire TV. Thank you, everybody, for Amazon Music, iTunes, Spotify, Facebook. If you haven't seen our YouTube page, you can go there. But thank you for joining us live. And if you like it, please share it. Okay, we always try to give you great update information and have a little bit of fun along the way. We've got a great guest coming up next week. Also, I'll be doing some lives or I'll be doing some videos later this week about filming on season 2 and some. So watch for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Facebook as well as Instagram, because we will be giving you some shots from the field. We're going to do that new this year on new products that we're using, also as well as we're doing some of the filming, trying to take it a little different approach this year. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it, and I hope you will too. Until next time, I'll be on Facebook after the live here, answering some more questions if I didn't get to it. Thank you all so much again for joining us. God bless you. We'll see you soon.